EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.
Hello and karibuni to EdTech Mondays Kenya. I'm your host, Lilibet Piper, and today in this special episode of our show, we're coming to you from Garissa University amidst the inspiring atmosphere of the Frontier Counties EdTech Summit. The summit is convened by EdTech East Africa in partnership with the Frontier Counties Development Council and seeks to spur EdTech conversation in this region. Today, we are joined by teachers, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and students, all focusing on the theme of EdTech for resilient and inclusive learning in Kenya. Join us in witnessing the educational technology that is revolutionizing learning in Kenya's frontier counties and gain valuable insights from visionary leaders that are leading these crucial discussions. To kick things off, let's take a glimpse of the powerful opening statements from the summit.
Karibuni, Garissa. I'm happy to see or to be told that there are a large number of visitors who are either from Nairobi or from other counties of the FCDC region.
After many, many weeks and months of hard organization, to finally have the Frontier Counties EdTech taking off, and successfully so.
This initiative is significant step towards our people, because our people will not be left behind in the digital age by providing access to digital learning and tools on education.
Today marks a milestone as we gather to discuss and strategize on how we can leverage technology in providing education to all. Education is a cornerstone of development in our ever-evolving world. It is important that we adapt.
With those welcoming remarks, let's jump into an enlightening conversation as we delve into the distinct landscape of EdTech in the frontier counties. We're interested in learning what is the state of EdTech in the frontier counties, what work is being done, and how far have we come. This session is moderated by Abdullahi Malim from FCDC, and our panel includes several respected experts. Stephen Ajanga from the Teacher Service Commission, Anil Hamis from the Aga Khan University, Abdi Nur Ali from MLUGA, and Dr. Mohammed Dahir, an esteemed education specialist. Let's have a listen.
Keenly listen to the discussions. There will be a brief session I will give to the delegates to ask one or two questions. If you have issues, please capture them very well. So, Dr. Anil Hamis, I know you work with Aga Khan. It's a very renowned organization, and you have embraced IQRA. IQRA means impact, quality, relevance, and access to education. That's the principle that drives Aga Khan. Then what is your opinion on the provision of education in the frontier counties in line with your principles? Are there studies carried out or supported by your organization on this course?
So we did a study, and we found that actually it wasn't secondary schooling that was so critical. It was actually early childhood development. So the Madrasa Early Childhood Development Program is the one that is really the forefront of the Islamic curriculum, which has now been adopted by KICD. And we hope, Sheikh Malim, that we will now bring that idea about culturally relevant, contextually specific education to the FCDC regions.
Very happy for that. We will now move to the next person, Dr. Abdinur. Dr. You are a researcher and an education expert in this region. Thank you. So we wanted to know, in your opinion, what are the key impediments to academic performance in schools, and what will be your recommendations?
I think there's a leadership issue. For God's sake, let's confront it. Whether it is school leadership, whether it is political leadership, whether it is leadership at the county level, there is a leadership issue that we need to address. You can't be leading an entire population. We are talking about the same things, and there's nothing radical, you suggest. It might look like a straightforward thing, but I think that's something that we need to address. Number two, which is an impediment, I don't think we're engaging our stakeholders. There needs to be a broader definition of stakeholders to move away from the ordinary definition of parents, boards of managers, boards of governors. You can link that to leadership. A school that is a national school has had a board of governor or same board members for the last 30 years. They have not been able to help that principal. We have had a principal in a school for the last 20 years. He has not brought anything significant, anything different. Linking up with the leadership is the issue of engagement of stakeholders. We want to bring serious stakeholders on the table. And there are many of them in the region. There's a huge menu, and you can see this in the room.
Wow.
But if we only engage them properly, and if we show them the value that we are also bringing as a region, if we also show the value in them, so we will perhaps want to discuss more about the whole issue of this. And the last one, Abdullah, if you allow me.
Yes, please.
I think there's a serious issue of employee motivation.
Okay. Malimo, it has been in the news most recently. Teachers who left the region because of security-related threats, protesting in TSC headquarters to be transferred elsewhere. Can you then explain, with that background of teachers always looking for ways of fleeing from our region, the teachers staffing gap in basic education here in the frontier counties, and how we really address?
The issue of the protesting teachers at the headquarters was sorted out. Why? Because the Employment Act is very clear. When you are engaged by an employer, there are terms and conditions of employment. And very clear, read by both parties and signed. And therefore, at the end of the signing of the agreement, this is an agreement that is signed by very literate people, and they know exactly what they are signing against. And therefore, when you go against what you've signed, definitely the rules and regulations of labor laws come into play. But I want to inform you that that was sorted out. The teachers came back. Northeastern is the only region in this country where the government allows people on permanent and pensionable and contract employment. Why contract? So that we can be able to fill the gap that there is. And two, you realize that after the incident we had here, so many of our teachers who don't come from this region fled. That is being addressed because even as we speak right now, Garissa TTC, Wajir TTC, in fact in Wajir we are going to have two. There is Wajir and Tarbach and Mandera TTC. As we speak right now, they have over 3,000 learners. So wow. God willing, inshallah,
very good numbers.
Yeah, God willing, in the next 3 years, this region should be producing at least 3,000 teachers who are from these areas and they understand the dynamics here. Therefore, that is what we are really leveraging on so that we have enough teachers. We have posted enough teachers to the TTCs so that they can be able to train adequately for us so that in the next 3 years, the issue of staffing would not be a question in this region.
So, Abdinur, you saw him carry something. I don't know, he will tell us the name. And I know he understands early literacy is a global concern. Here, you are with early literacy Mashinani through that part of yours. Have you integrated Mluga in our frontier counties? And how many have you reached so far, Abdinur?
Currently, we have supported 6 schools in the region with approximately around 300 students. To supplement the app for hard-to-reach areas where we have issues with the tablets, we have connectivity with power and issues. By the way, we also installed solar panels in one of the schools, at least they don't have a power. We supplemented with books that are also in vernacular. So lastly, we have this amazing device here. This amazing device is one of the latest EdTech technologies. We have used it in 23 schools, secondary schools in northern Kenya. This small gadget contains Form 1 to Form 4 video lessons offline, and it doesn't need internet to access. So it's it's a local LAN. When you switch on, it can be accessed by 100 users with 100-meter radius. Someone just sitting 100 meters can access the content. All the content approved also by KICD. So the lack of teachers can be, there's a remedy for that, and also to improve the quality of education and also performance. So this is also elimu mashinani. It was well used in the North. Thank you.
So as stated earlier, I will allow for about 3 questions, whether they are general or directed to an individual, before we go to the second cycle.
The gadget you have shown from EdTech, is it 100 meters, just like that, or 100 meters, square meters to reach the target?
I just find myself wondering how you went about implementing that digital use in training and teaching.
How come you're only in 6 schools in the region? So I'm just reiterating that question. And beyond the north and northeast, I've heard that your app is also catering to other communities. Where else in the country are you? And how can we support you getting to even more learners?
The app supports 19 Kenyan languages. We have Nandi, we have Tugen, we have Kamba, we have Kikuyu, and they have thousands of downloads in every language. But remember, the app is an app. It needs other supporting aspects. You need gadgets. You have technological know-how. You need to train the teachers. So we also have the digital literacy program where we have laptops, tablets in our schools. In very remote schools, where even the number of tablets are even more than the number of learners. And that's why now the national government will come in, because those tablets don't have a content. And that's where I come in as a content provider. The target schools. And I know my friend Shiko asked, why 6 schools? I don't have money.
It's
very expensive because you need to buy a gadget. The Mashinani gadget, it's 100-meter radius, and it has 500 GB space, which means the teachers can upload their own content also using their phones, their laptops, and everything. So when the teacher leaves the school, the content remains inside the device in the school. So it's also a storage device for the school.
You have talked of this issue of lack of stakeholder engagement as point number 2, about POMs staying in a school for over 30 years without anything. What is your take? Because some of these people look at the relationship between the POM and the administration of the school, like the head teachers. What relationship is it there that keeps this in school for long?
We don't want to confront the real issues. We want to stay in our comfort zones. Localized schools, localized learning, localized things. Well, localization is good, but then it has to be impactful.
We wanted to know how we can. What strategies will you recommend for our counties to develop and roll out a resilient education system of national and global standards? Kindly.
Our teachers, in the main, are digital immigrants. Our learners are, in the main, digital natives. They have grown in the ecosystem of the digital age. So the problem he has is the one that we identified 15 years ago. Uncompromise on quality. So he cannot do more than 6 schools if he is going to have quality. And secondly, teachers are your most important agents of change. Leadership is important. Thank you. Leadership is important, but teacher development is important. Now, my final point, we actually need to teach children how to manage their teachers. Let me stop there.
This crucial and much-needed discussion lays the foundation for our upcoming segment, which brings to light the pressing issue at hand, serving our out-of-school learners. In 2021, it was reported that over 1 million learners were not in school in the 10 frontier counties.
The children education program is up to grade 2. We are doing this because we want to encourage learners to transit to formal primary schools. And that is what we have been doing all along. We mobilize and carry out the enrollment drive to bring children back to school, prepare them, and transit them to the nearest mainstream primary school where they can learn with their peers. And that's our main target. It's like more of a feeder schools. And that's what we are doing at Save the Children. We prepare, we mobilize, bring them back to school, ensure they are competent in terms of numeracy and literacy, and then transit them to mainstream primary schools where they can learn with their peers of the same age. We realize these children are dropping out of school for economic reasons. They may not be able to get cater for the cost of educational materials. And one thing Save the Children is doing is providing free educational materials for all children enrolled in our programs. And this, lifts the burden from the parent. When a parent has the responsibility of providing books and everything for the child, that parent is overburdened. So Save the Children is doing everything for the child when that child is admitted in the schools. The other thing we are doing is community sensitization. We have monthly coordination meetings. In fact, it's school-based, coordinated by the respective education officers, and we meet with the parent on monthly basis on the importance of education and how to enroll children back to schools at all times, even when there is no disasters like droughts and the floods. So those are some of the interventions that the children is doing.
This tablet is called LFA, Library for All. And for us who can get access to internet, if you go to Play Store, you can get this app through Play Store. It is LFA, or Library for All. I tell you, this is one of the best applications that is run internationally because it has content that run from preschool level to university. Due to the fact that the content can be downloaded, we normally encourage the teachers to have the capacity building, which we normally do regularly, that makes them be conversant with the system. This one makes them, even without maybe PP1A is doing the integration, the PP2B, it can also do the same integration, but using the teacher's gadget. That's one way. Secondly, we have pamphlets. I've kept it there. That has which has detailed information of all the content that is in that tablet. So it means that in the absentia of the tablet, the teacher is also able to use the pictures to show the learners what is there and also help the teacher to be conversant with the system. Due to maintenance, you understand that it is a bit expensive, but we have books that support the same. Then lastly, you find that when the teacher is empowered, the learners will also be empowered. So I'll encourage other developers that let's not look at the limitations. Let's look at the impact onto which these learners are getting when they use this technology. Technology is the only way that will make the learner in a refugee setup whereby they live alone internet. Even food is a problem. That one day their future is just based on that through the digital literacy, in that they can go online or use the offline version and then they learn.
Fostering accessible education for out-of-school learners is crucial, especially in the frontier counties of our nation. The impactful work of groundbreaking EdTech visionaries in the region is creating new ways to learn and pathways to success for countless students. Stay tuned to hear from Abdi Nur Ali of Mluga, James Onganga from Loho Learning, David Osinya representing Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa, and Edward Joho from Zaraki. All four visionary EdTech leaders who will give us a picture of what it looks like for innovators to create products that support learning resilience.
If I look at it from a maybe historical perspective, COVID-19 gave us new challenges, and we realized that something can happen that will make learning impossible in a classroom, or bringing people together can become a challenge. So I think that innovators should come up with technologies or tools to help that in an eventuality, God forbid, such a thing happens again, education is not suspended, because education is something that is lifelong and we need to have it for continuity. So we need to be so innovative and come up with ways whereby we can support learners or we can support educators in each environment, whatever circumstances, so that there's nothing that can disrupt learning in a real or day-to-day basis.
Make sure when you are innovating, the innovation should be homegrown solutions, not an imported solution from somewhere else, because local solutions need local problems need local solutions. And you, as you're aware, the COVID-19 happened, and no one was even prepared. Even the government, the biggest government, were not prepared. Parents were not prepared. Learners were not prepared. So it's good to innovate, the innovators, to come up with resilient ways of continuing learning during that kind of disruptions. If you remember, like a month ago, the schools in Kenya did not open because of floods. Especially the most affected part was the northern part of Kenya, where the only entry to the county or to the region was cut by the floods, by the heavy floods, and we lost 2 weeks of learning just recently, and there was no measures. Actually, the government had to postpone the opening of the schools until further notice, because there were no measures in place. So if we had innovations in terms of resilient innovations, I think learning will have continued.
At Low Learning, we build technologies that mainly resolve 4 things. The first one is innovation around affordability of quality education, inclusive education, accessibility of education, and finally, data and insights of quality education. We are trying to understand how learning is happening. As we innovate our technologies, we ensure that our technology, first of all, is affordable, because we understand that we don't want a technology that is for an elitist. So we ensure that the cost of the technology is very accessible to bring on board more people. Secondly, we want the technology to be inclusive. So we also have Kenya Sign Language content within the platform. Lastly, access is a very big thing. So we ensure that our technology is, first of all, accessible for the infrastructure that is currently available in school. So we develop it on top of an infrastructure at the bare minimum. So those who have much higher devices can consume the technology. Those who have the bare minimum can as well access that. On accessibility, we also have technology that is available through hybrid. So it's either available online and it's also available completely offline. And the last part of access is we ensure that the technology is also accessible to the educators and learners. We don't want technology that's only accessible to the one side. For learning to happen, every stakeholder has a hand in it. So the parent has a parent dashboard, the teacher has a teacher dashboard, the learner has a learner dashboard. The last one, we collect the right data, or learning engineering, to ensure that when we make iterations, those iterations are led by the users of that technology. So over time, we effectively continue having a resilient innovation.
Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa is a charitable trust that works in the innovation and technology space to enhance access to quality education for visually impaired learners across East Africa, Malawi, and Ethiopia. So one of the things that actually Kilimanjaro does is ensuring that there is availability of content in the digital devices that visually impaired learners are using, such that in case there is any disruption, they are able to access the content, whether in school or even at their homes. So we provide content in all the devices that we donate to the schools, so that we ensure that there is a continuity in terms of access to the content that learners may need at one point or the other.
There were numerous inspiring, insightful, and thought-provoking conversations shared during the Frontiers EdTech Summit. Let's get a quick summary of the main takeaways from this important gathering.
So that 5 years from now, at our 5th EdTech Summit, inshallah, we will come and say we introduced technology in 2024. And 5 years later, these are the children. We will be lining up children here to say, these are the children that could previously not read, and this is where they've gotten to because of technology.
So a huge thank you to everyone for your contributions, for your participation. And please do find us after these sessions. Tell us what more you want. EdTech East Africa has always been driven by the needs of the community. So if we don't know what you need, then we don't move forward.
We commit to work with EdTech East Africa to make sure the summit resolutions and the big messages that were coming out from the group discussions are shared out. So we'll at least package something out of our discussions and ensure by the end of it, we will share with all the key partners and participants who have really participated in this forum. So with those few remarks, and on behalf of the CEO, FCDC, Dr. Ile Farah, we want to declare this very engaging summit officially closed. Thank you so much.
Our hope is that the critical data and conversations shared at the EdTech Summit will be applied to policy that reaches all learners in Kenya. For Kenya to move forward, we must bring all learners everywhere with us into the future of technology and education. That's the one thing we can do to make a difference for our learners. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of EdTech Monday Kenya from the Frontier Counties EdTech Summit. We invite you to join the conversation on X. You can reach us at EdTechEAfrica, and on SMS. You can text us your feedback to 20686 using the hashtag EdTechMondays. A big thank you to Rosa Molo, our sign language interpreter, for her invaluable support. My name is Lily Bukala Piper. Thank you for joining us, and see you next month.
EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.